Hey folks, this is Kalani. We have so many new things to talk about this week. Some huge class changes could completely change up the current healer metagame. A new reputation was added into the Korthia zone, which works a bit differently from what we've seen so far in Shadowlands. Torghast rewards have been increased yet again, including a chance to get some very special items, and we have some more information on the new Sharts of Domination system that could make raid gear super overpowered. Let's jump right in. Let's take a look at the class changes first, because a lot of things are shifting around this week. Holy Paladins are in for a real roller coaster here because so many things have been nerfed and the dev team are trying to change how Holy Paladin plays in general. First up, Flash of Light healing will be increased by 20%. Okay, cool. More healing for our heals. Not bad so far. The Infusion of Light passive has been changed. It now causes Holy Light to generate 1 holy power instead of the previous 30% additional healing. Getting holy power from Holy Light should be nice, right? But here come the nerfs. The damage of every ability has been reduced by 8%. Ashen Hollow's damage has been reduced by an additional 10% on top of that. Hammer of Wrath damage was reduced by an additional 10% as well, and Judgment follows the same trend by losing 10% additional damage too. That is a very hefty round of nerfs to the damage output of the vast majority of a Holy Paladin's toolkit, which is definitely going to be felt bad in 9.1. In addition to those nerfs, Crusader Strike's mana cost was increased to 11% mana, up from 9%, and the Crusader's Might talent will now reduce the cooldown of Holy Shock by 1 second, down from 1.5 seconds. So you won't be able to Crusader Strike quite as often due to potential mana restrictions, and you won't be able to reset your Holy Shocks quite as often either. It's a massive round of changes which are supposed to shift Holy Paladins away from the passive damage playstyle that they've enjoyed for quite a while now, and force them back into actually using more direct heals. I don't know if it's going to work all too well. It could just mean Holy Paladins will deal less damage overall while generating a bit more holy power from direct heals. It will be very interesting to see how Holy Paladins do in 9.1 with all of these changes compared to the other healing specs, and whether they're going to be able to adapt or not, because I doubt they're going to be as competitive as they have been so far in Shadowlands. We have yet another change for balanced druids as well. I told you they weren't going anywhere anytime soon. A tweak or a change every single week. This week it's relatively small. Stellar Drift has changed once again. It will still increase the damage of Starfall by 50%, but the cooldown that is imposed on Starfall has been reduced down to 12 seconds from 15 seconds. So 3 seconds off the cooldown. So the dev team obviously recognized what the problem is with this talent and its changes, but they still think adding a cooldown onto Starfall is a good idea, I guess. At this point, they're just chipping away at it slowly but surely. I wonder what will change with Balanced Druids next week. Holy Priests will also see a small buff to Symbol of Hope, along with the redesign to recover the cooldown of major defensive abilities of your raid members. The mana regen for all of your healers was bumped up to 18% when it was previously 12%. An additional 6% mana for every one of your healers is actually incredible, especially when you consider that there are very few ways to actually recover significant amount of mana in combat. This buff should make having at least one Holy Priest in your healing setup very useful indeed. And then the Warlocks will also be getting kind of an interesting buff. Previous to this build, I guess most effects that increased the Warlock's damage didn't also increase pet damage, but that's going to change. So for Destruction, the Eradication talent now also increases the damage of pets and guardians. For Affliction, Haunt and Shadow Embrace now also increase the damage of pets and guardians, and for Demonology, the From the Shadows talent now also increases your pet's Shadow Flame damage. It might not be the overhaul you wanted or a huge shift in power between the specs, but this is going to end up being a buff for every Warlock spec no matter what, because everyone's pets are going to be dealing at least a bit more damage when these talents are in play. Moving on, we have a clearer picture of what the new Shards of Domination system is going to look like in patch 9.1. If you haven't heard of these shards before, there's going to be a new special raid-only set of power-up bonuses called Shards of Domination. Their source is still a bit hazy. We know it's going to require raid boss kills to maybe collect souls and complete quests and unlock and upgrade these shard powers, but thanks to the recent interview with Sloot, we know that there will be 5 domination sockets that that we can get across our gear, so a total of 5 sockets for us to slot these shards into. There are 3 different types of shards: Blood, Frost and Unholy, so this is really playing into the Death Knight rune fantasy, and each shard comes with an individual bonus. These bonuses are active everywhere in the game, but if you collect and equip 3 shards of the same type, so 3 Blood, 3 Frost or 3 Unholy, you get a set bonus effect on top of everything else, which is only active in the MOAR. Now, when they say the MOAR, they actually mean the MOAR and its sub-areas. So that's going to be the MOAR zone, the new Korthia zone, Torghast, because that's in the MOAR as well, and then also in the new raid, because the Sanctum of Domination is in the MOAR too. So these stat bonuses won't be active in dungeons, instance PvP, or any other world zone besides the MOAR, which should limit their influence on the power creep of other types of content at least a little bit. The latest round of data mining also found several new Shard of Domination powers for us to look at, and they referenced the Frost, Blood and Unholy runes that we know are going to be the current groundwork for this new system. We have the Shard of Zed, the Unholy Healing Shard. Your helpful spells and abilities have a chance to grant your target an unholy aura, draining health from nearby enemies every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. There's also the Shard of Oth, the Unholy Survival Shard, which increases your speed tertiary stat. The Shard of Dies, the Unholy Damage Shard, reads, damaging a target increases your damage done to that target by 0.5% for 4 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Then the Shard of Tel is a Frost Healing Shard. Your critical heals cause their target to absorb the next 442 damage dealt to them within 6 seconds. The Shard of Kia is a Frost Survival Shard. While standing still, you gain an Absorb Shield every 5 seconds, up to a cap. The Shard of Core is the Frost Damage Shard. Your damage is increased by 5% for 10 seconds after attacking an enemy you have not yet damaged. The Shard of Rev is the Blood Healing Shard. Your leech is increased by 0. I assume that will actually increase your leech later on. The Shard of Jas is a Blood Survival Shard. Incoming healing you receive is increased by 1%. Your maximum health is increased as well. And then the last one that we have to look at is the Shard of Beck, the Blood Damage Shard. Your damage is increased by 8% when you have 50% or more health than your target. Most of these are very simple passive effects, but I can see how they could add up to a sizable increase in power. Remember, you can equip 5 of these shards. Can you imagine getting a 25% increase to your damage for 10 seconds after attacking an enemy you haven't damaged before? That could be insane for plowing through dungeon packs. Or gaining 0.5% increased damage for 4 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, that's 2.5% increased damage, times 5 for 5 shards for a total of 12.5% increased damage, as long as you can hit the same target over and over again. That is going to be amazing for single target raid encounters, so there's definitely some potential here. It's just a shame that it is all passive effects, without giving us much control over how this new power is used. That's all of the passive shard effects we have to look at right now, but I think the set bonuses, or the rune words, are where these shards will really shine. Sadly, we don't have too much information about that yet. Hopefully we'll see what kind of set bonuses we'll be working with in an upcoming PTR build. All we really have is a new passive buff present in the MOAR zones called Runic Dominion. If you're in a MOAR zone that qualifies for a shard set bonus, you'll automatically be given this buff. The presence of domination magic is especially strong in this area, while within the MOAR, equipping 3 shards of domination of the same type will grant you the power of a rune word. So that's very exciting, and I can't wait to see what extra bonuses we can reap from this new system. Now, perhaps one of the more important updates in this PTR build was the addition of a new reputation in the Korthia zone called the Archivist's Codex. After you've progressed a little bit of the way through the Korthia story, you'll be able to rescue an NPC from the forces of the jailer, and when he gets back to camp, he sets up shop in the Reliquary of Remembrance. That's kind of a TLDR version, but basically this chap is in charge of rescuing and recovering relics and artifacts on Korthia, so the secrets and history of this wondrous place isn't lost forever. So naturally, we the players will be doing most of the recovering, and this dude will be trying to make it worth our while. Working with this reputation is incredibly straightforward. During your adventures in Korthia, completing story quests, working towards your weekly quest, finishing some daily quests, you know, the usual kind of stuff, you can collect relic fragments. They mainly come from rare monsters and treasure chests that are scattered around the zone, but they also have a low chance to come from any monster you kill in Korthia, so be sure to loot anything you kill. You can take these relic fragments back to the Archivist and hand them in. Each relic fragment currently rewards you with 0.5 reputation for the Archivist's Codex faction, as well as 1 catalogued research currency. So the more relics you collect, the faster you'll climb through the reputation ranks. Simple, right? It looks like as you progress through the reputation, you'll be able to purchase more and more upgrades that give you access to more and more relics in the Korthia zone, so this might be a case of a slow starting rep grind that gets progressively faster. As well as allowing you to purchase upgrades to make your relic farming easier and more efficient, you can also buy upgrades that allow you to sometimes earn other currencies like Stygia, Anima, extra reputation, and this is also where the most powerful new Crafter's Mark will come from in patch 9.1, the Crafter's Mark of the Chained Isle. This currency is also used to upgrade the new Korthia gear, which is very interesting in my opinion. This is something new in the latest PTR build, and it's a new set of upgradable gear. It starts at item level 200 and can be upgraded all the way to item level 233, which is actually on par with the new raid's normal gear. Normal raid gear in patch 9.1 is item level 226, with the last 2 bosses dropping 233, so that is a very high item level for a gearing up path which is accessible just by playing outdoor world content. I've seen a lot of players call this the new catch-up gear for patch 9.1, and while that's sort of true for reasons I'll explain in a moment, it's also much more than that. This is a new gearing up path for players who don't want to participate in PvP, raids, or Mythic Plus dungeons. It is going to take a while for sure to upgrade this stuff, but you could get into item level 233 just by playing around in the Korthia zone and collecting relic fragments. That's kind of insane. While the other types of outdoor content like world quests and callings will increase in item level as you progress through the new 40 levels of renown in patch 9.1, outdoor world content has very rarely given you an option to earn gear that is equal to raid gear, and in this case it's actually a bit better than the vast majority of normal raid gear too. There are a few ways to get your hands on this Korthia gear. It can drop from the war chest that you get as a reward from the Covenant assaults in the MOAR. You always get a piece from the weekly war chest for the Shaping Fate quest. They can be rewarded from daily quests in Korthia, and you can also buy them from the new Death's Advance faction. This last source is a bit special for a few reasons. To buy Korthian armaments, you will need to get up to friendly with this new reputation, which shouldn't take too long providing you're actually playing in the new Korthia zone, and then they also cost 1000 Stygia. That's quite pricey for a random gear token, but the reason why players are calling this catch-up gear is because this gear token is actually bind on account. You can send these gear tokens to any of your alts, so you can turn any excess Stygia on your main character into item level 200 gear for your alts. That's a pretty decent item level to start out with, and you have the ability to upgrade it to 233 if that's something you're interested in. These tokens can contain any piece of gear though, so it's definitely going to be a luck of the draw type deal. They can contain any armor piece, weapons, and even accessory items. The only thing they might not contain is a trinket, so there are a lot of options for gear progression here. Getting the baseline item level 200 gear is going to be very easy for the most part, but upgrading it is going to be a lot harder. Not only do you have to collect the relic fragments to turn into the research currency to actually upgrade these items, but you have to earn enough reputation to unlock the last 2 tiers of the item level upgrades. These are available from the same research vendor, and they're quite expensive, and the upgrades themselves are very expensive too. It will cost you a significant amount of research currency to get this gear upgraded right now, which makes me think that either these values are placeholder or the extra sources of relics ramp up quite quickly. You can see that the prices get more and more expensive as the gear is ranked up, and the total cost for upgrading an item from rank 1, which is item level 200, all the way up to rank 6, which is item level 233, is currently set at 12,750 research. That is a lot of relic fragments fragments to collect. So while the base item level 200 gear can be used as a quick catch-up gearing method to gear up a fresh level 60, or maybe an ult that got left behind, do not expect to be able to upgrade this stuff quickly, or even at all if you aren't playing that ult in the Korthia zone. You need reputation, you need to farm relic fragments, and it's going to take a long time. But one of the main rewards that players will be looking forward to tied to this new reputation and relic farming is going to be the new Season 2 socket item and the new conduit upgrade item. The ones we were using in Season 1 that we bought from Venari will no longer work, so this will be our new source of endgame sockets and conduit upgrades. They're only going to be available right at the end of the reputation grind when you reach rank 6, and they're going to be quite expensive too, so getting full sockets and fully upgraded conduits is going to be a long grind once again. Interestingly though, the new reputation will not be the only source of these new power-ups. Both the conduit upgrades and the socket items also have a chance to drop from Torghast, but it's not going to be every run, and it's only going to be from the new special wing called Adamant Vaults. The implementation of this isn't quite what we were expecting initially. The Adamant Vaults are not a new complete wing that is added into the Torghast wing rotation, it's more of a bonus adventure at the end of a Torghast run. To enter the Adamant Vaults, you have to unlock it in the box of many things. This is a new talent or trait tree that you can work your way through by earning Tower Knowledge, a new currency rewarded at the end of every Torghast run. The Adamant Vaults unlock isn't too far down the tree, but you will have to spend quite a bit of Tower Knowledge before you can unlock the Adamant Vaults, but once you've bought that upgrade, you now have access to this mysterious new Torghast adventure, but getting into the Adamant Vaults isn't super straightforward either. At the end of each Torghast run, you are presented with your score, and the maximum you can earn right now is 5 gems, or 5 stars, or whatever you want to call them. To increase your score, you need to kill monsters, break urns, free souls, kill rares, and move at least relatively quickly. There's also a new hot streak meter, so the faster you go and the more you kill, the longer you stay in your hot streak and the more points you will earn. This is all important because the only way to get into the Adamant Vaults is to finish your Torghast run on layer 9 or above with a flawless 5-star score. If you manage that, the exit portal will turn red and you will be allowed to climb up to the Adamant Vaults. The Adamant Vaults is only 2 floors, one filled with trash mobs and traps, and then the second floor is the boss floor. The cool thing about the Adamant Vaults is that you carry on your Torghast run, which means all of the anima powers you've earned up until this point are still there with you, so you can smash through the Adamant Vaults without too many problems. I will say that the Adamant Vaults seem quite a bit more dangerous, so even if you're filled to the brim with super anima powers, you might have to be at least a little careful as you make your way through. The boss on the second floor is what we're interested in for this piece of news. A lot of players on the PTR have reported this boss dropping the socket items for Season 2 and the conduit upgrade items as well, so those special power-ups that are some of the most important rewards from the new reputation over in Korthia also have a chance to come from Torghast runs, if you can manage to break into the Adamant Vaults at any rate. I'm actually super excited about this, partly because Torghast sorely needed some extra rewards, and partly because I would love for those specific items to be obtainable outside of the reputation grind. This is a great 2 birds with 1 stone deal, so let's hope the dev team keeps it as it is for when the patch goes live. Now, while we're on the topic of Torghast rewards, another very interesting change this week was a large increase to the amount of soul ash that all layers will reward in patch 9.1. Right now on live servers, you can expect to earn 570 soul ash per wing you complete on layer 8. That has been our maximum for the entire expansion so far, but when patch 9.1 rolls around, that layer 8 reward will be bumped up to 860 soul ash. That's an extra 290 soul ash per wing per week, at least if I can do math, if you complete layer 8 runs of Torghast, which should be much easier with all of the Torghast changes that are also coming in patch 9.1. But layer 8 will not be the highest layer available with the new patch. We also gain access to layers 9, 10, 11 and 12. Layer 12 will be our new maximum, and that will reward 1030 soul ash per wing per week for a grand total of 2060 potential soul ash to earn in any given week when patch 9.1 goes live. That's almost double our current weekly maximum, so farming soul ash is going to be so much faster in the next patch. If you've been wanting to test out out some legendaries but didn't want to waste the Soul Ash, patch 9.1 is going to be a perfect time to do so. Remember that in 9.1 you can also trade Soul Ash to your ults, so even if your main character doesn't have any use for this increase in Soul Ash earnings, you can pass it on to any ults you might want to play to get their legendaries crafted and upgraded in the blink of an eye. The dev team have also said that repeat runs of Torghast, where you have already earned the usual weekly Soul Ash reward, will also reward a small amount of Soul Ash at the end of the run. So there's yet another reason to keep running Torghast, either to earn tower knowledge to unlock more talents and traits, get a teeny bit more Soul Ash for your legendary upgrades, or to try and get those 4-star scores you need to progress up to the higher layers. It might not be perfect, but I really do think Torghast is moving towards being a great piece of content in patch 9.1. I think if the dev team added in the new Korthia gear armaments that we were talking about earlier into Torghast as a reward as well, that would take it up to the next level and create an incredibly lucrative reward system for Torghast as a whole, while giving more casual players a gentle nudge towards the upgrade system for that very same gear, so they can enjoy some powerful gear as well. And then as a very last note in this video, we have some news regarding the whole Burning Crusade Classic cash grab fiasco. If you remember back to sometime last week, the Burning Crusade Classic launch date was announced alongside various microtransactions. We had the $70 Deluxe Edition, the $40 character boosts, and then the $35 character clone service. While the Deluxe Edition and the character boost hasn't budged as of writing this video, the character clone service has. Blizzard has decided, after much thought and consideration I'm sure, to reduce the cost of a character clone down to $15. That's definitely more in line with their other services and nowhere near as crazy as the previous $35 price tag, but when you consider that we copy our characters time and time again over to the public test realm to help Blizzard test their upcoming content drops, $15 for an extremely easy and automated service still seems kind of steep, but of course, when compared side by side with the original $35 price tag, it seems almost like a good deal. That's kind of scary, and I hope this wasn't the dev team's intention all along, but either way, the price of a character clone will be significantly less if you want to play your classic characters in both vanilla era realms and through TBC Classic, but it's still gonna cost you a pretty penny if you have multiple characters you're wanting to clone. But that's all of the big news we have this week, and that's it for this video. What do you think of the huge changes to Holy Paladin? How about another reputation grind for the new sockets and conduit upgrades in Season 2? Isn't it so exciting? And then what do you think about more lucrative rewards being included in the Torghast system? That one is actually pretty good. Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to everyone who subscribed on Twitch. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.